You mentioned body count. You said you can answer that one easily. Do you share your body count? Do you know your body count? Do you know, is there a spreadsheet?
There's a spreadsheet, yes.
Is it Google Sheets? Is it
It's
Excel?
Google Sheets, yeah.
Okay. Have you run like, is there, you don't have to share the contents, but is there like data on each?
So I track paid clients and free sex separately. And I track different things on either of them. Like with clients, I track like positions we used and who had an orgasm. And with personal people, I just track basically like age, city, name. And I've had sex with, I think, 42 people, I think, for free. So I'm sharing this because like I want people to calibrate. Like it's not like huge. It's not like tiny.
One of the people I've recently talked to, Mel, Stephen's wife, is a huge fan of yours. She was actually really excited to get to talk to you. But I think she said her body count is more than 42. I think she said 60, something like this. And so it's interesting because she was like saying like she loves like looking at your work, talking to you because you have similar perspectives on the world, and it's really refreshing. It's liberating. Wow.
Oh, it's really sweet.
It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So is there like an optimal body count? Like if you were to map, I wonder, what have you found out about body count in doing? Have you actually done surveys on body count? Like on how many people
I
have
actually
had sex
collected that information on my last survey. I just haven't looked at it yet. There's just so many things to look at, so I haven't.
Yeah.
But I think if I'm sleeping with a guy and he's had sex with more than 120 people, then I start to get a little bit wary.
Why 120 as opposed to 100?
I don't know. I just like kind of skimmed through the numbers in my head and picked one that felt right.
Just now?
Yeah.
120-ish.
I think that's when I'm starting like...
ish. So you're flexible.
Yeah, I'm flexible. Very.
But 200 is a hard line for sure.
Well, it's, we have to...
It depends. The factors.
Because like there's a level of body count at which you start to wonder how much like accidental misrepresentation a guy is doing to you.
Oh, like if you're saying 200, that might be dishonest.
No, like if he's had sex with 200 girls, this means that he's had a lot of casual sex and not a lot of like long-term relationships, assuming that he's, hasn't been super poly.
Yeah.
And this usually means that there has to be some sort of like indication that he cares about the girl more than he actually does. Like
because
he's like leading you on, basically.
Right.
And so I'm not saying this is necessarily the case. I'm saying like at a certain level of number, I start to wonder if this is what's happening.
Is there like, from your understanding of it, is there a different perception between men and women? Like if you look at a high body count for a woman versus a high body count for a man, like how society views it?
Oh yeah, people are way more judgmental of women. I haven't experienced this personally in my circles because I'm in very sex-friendly circles. Like I'm in orgy circles where everybody like dates the same women and they're like, "Woo, good job." But yeah, people are much more like people always tell me online like you're not ever going to be able to find a husband because you have sex with too many people.
Okay,
it's very common, which I don't think. I mean, like men are also perceived negatively if you have high body count, but I don't think it's negatively in the same way.
Yeah. Do you think it's unethical to lie about your body count?
Yes.
So all lying is unethical?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of lying in general.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Body count is an interesting one. It's so silly to care about that. But still we do.
Yeah.
And jealousy is silly, but still we get jealous. Is that weird?
It's like, the thing is like, I don't like viewing emotions as like irrational, even if they are. It's like emotions are always there for a reason. And people don't like high body counts for a reason, too. It's just fine and valid.
Yeah, it also is like... Yeah, I don't know what I make of just the past, of like time. Like each human is a collection of experiences. And you don't know most of those experiences. And all of a sudden you meet this bag of experiences. And like, what are you supposed to do with both of your like training data? Are you supposed to like what? Like, I don't know if like part of me wants to not actually ever talk about it, to care at all. Like, why does it matter? Because it's only like the future is that matters. And yet the past also matters a lot potentially. but maybe not really, because you're somehow like constructed from that past, but you're no longer that past.
It sounds like you're evaluating for something different than most people.
What do you mean?
Like the reason
I'm just talking out my ass, but yes, go ahead. Yeah, I'm just saying crazy shit like as if I'm on drugs. But I'm not.
Well, it kind of sounds. I think this is like kind of like lining up with like this caricature that I'm building of you based on this conversation so far.
Great.
That like a lot of people want to know about your past because they want to know how useful and compatible you are with them. Like, oh, do you have a similar job? You know, do you have similar culture? Like, what can I expect from you in the future? Like, it's very practically oriented. Whereas, like, if the thing that you're focused on is not like being able to predict someone, like if the thing that you're focused on is the present moment, then it doesn't really matter anymore. They're the things that like they're training data.
But I also think like the past is not that predictive of the future.
Is it not?
Not if you believe in the power of the interaction between two humans. It's like nature versus nurture. I guess also I don't believe in the ability of people to accurately describe their own past.
This is true.
Because they have a very specific lens through it that doesn't necessarily, like, it's too biased.
But you can also interpret based on the bias. Like if somebody describes their own past, you can kind of pick up like
hard. It's difficult. Like you could if you're a therapist, like if you're really drilling, like or whatever. Sorry, if you're really investigating and like analyzing it, but then it's like it's a different kind of relationship, right?
Is it that hard though? Like if I'm with a guy and I'm considering dating him, and I ask like, how did your past relationships end? And then if all of them are like, he's like, oh, she was crazy, and my other one that she went crazy too. I'm like, okay. Like if you're talking about all of your exes is insane. Like,
but that's an easy level red flag. But I feel like the more that also it's possible that we're crazy. He's attracted to crazy people. So like that. Yeah. But that I would say that's like easy level Mario Kart video game versus like Elden Ring. Like I think most people's past is like complicated.
That's a pretty good burn. No, you're right. I do agree that like there's a level of obfuscation. Wow, that is hard to see through. But just like a little bit sometimes.
Well, I tend to like with people. I tend to, in general, just human interaction. I tend to not talk about their past very much because it allows you to focus on like. I feel like the past is kind of like talking about the weather. It's a crutch. For me personally.
Oh, interesting.
Like as opposed to exploring the ideas in their mind.
Yeah, I see. Is it like I get really annoyed when people quote philosophers when they're trying to talk about philosophy?
Yeah.
Is it like that?
A little, but that crutch is useful and it's kind of sexy. Like it's kind of like cool. It's like because it's nice to quote because a good quote allows you to be cheesier than you otherwise would be.
Okay, well, if you're doing it to be cheesy, that's fine.
No, I do not cheesy, but not cheesy. No, not cheesy. But to be like, it allows you to say a simple, profound thing that we're too afraid to say with our own words. So, like the quoting philosophers in that sense is like, yeah, but it is still a crutch, yes. But I feel like the past is more like talking about your dreams. It just is not. It's a crutch that doesn't care, it doesn't empathize with the other person's experience of the conversation or the explanations. It doesn't really convey the...
They're not involved in your past.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about this conversation where you're asking me about my past? And I talked about my past a lot.
Well, I'm okay asking about your past because you've really carefully thought about that aspect of it. And we didn't really talk about your past outside of the things you've written about and I've really thought about.
I see.
Like there's like with most conversation, you'll start talking about past stuff that's like the stuff that's actually bothering you. You still probably have not written a blog post about, right? Like there's probably still stuff like maybe it's more recent, like the last few months, the last couple of years. Like that's usually what will come up with conversation and just. It's good, but it's not as deep, and I would say it's not as intimate as talking about the actual ideas in your mind.
I see.
And how you interact with the world.
So, like the past is interesting for the frame of like, sort of like I guess you're right. I guess we're talking a lot about like narrative.
Yeah.
And past.
Yeah, I like the ideas in people's minds versus their recollections and memories and so on. Yeah.